Okay, so your homework is to take this arrangement of Amazing Grace, and there's a link to it here on the blog if you've misplaced the copy that I gave you in class, and we're going to analyze the chords. First thing I want you to do is to figure out what the chord, what each chord is, what the root is, and so um, as you look at it, look at the first one. I'll hold it up close here, but you can look at your copy. You see we got the G, G, B, and D. So G, B, and D are the three notes, and when we arrange those as in a triad, and here I'll do that on a piece of scratch paper or staff paper, and we're in G major, so I'll put my key signature in. So we have the G, G, B, and D. So, boy, I got a G, a B, and a D. So how can I arrange those in thirds, right? So I got a G and a B, okay, and then that makes a third. And where can I put the D so that's in a third relationship to one of those notes? Above the D, all right. So that tells me that it's a G chord. And so the first thing I'm going to do is above the chord, right up here, where is it? There. I'm going to write the pop chord symbol. I'm going to write a G. Okay. Now I'm going to look at the next chord, and that's G, D, B, and G. We still got G's, B's, and D's, so we know it's still a G chord. Okay. And the next one starts out with a G, a G, a D, and a B. That's still a G chord. So I actually don't need to write another pop symbol. As a matter of fact, I didn't need to do it at the beginning of that measure, but I did anyway. Now we're going to just ignore those eighth notes for now. Okay, you can ignore all eighth notes, at least the ones on the second half of the beat, and we'll talk about those on Wednesday. Now here I've got D, G, D, and B. Two D's, a G, and a B. Well, that still means that there's a G, a B, and a D. So that's still, the root is still G, but G is no longer in the bass. What's in the bass? D, you said, right. So we write a slash and a D. So that means a G chord with a D in the bass. Okay. And then the next chord is F, D, F sharp, C, and A. Well, that's an interesting one. Let's write that down here and figure out what that chord is. I've got a D, an F sharp, a C, and an A. All right. So now I got to figure out what triad that is. I can take any one of those notes. I'm going to take the D that was there. All right. And how can I arrange these notes in thirds? Okay, is one of those notes a third away from D? Well, D, E, F sharp, that is. Okay. So I've got the D and I've got my F sharp, kind of like playing hangman. I can cross them off. Okay, now the C and the A is one of those notes. We obviously know this is the seventh chord because there are four different notes. Which one of those is a third away from F sharp? F sharp, G, A, that's right. Then A. And then only thing left is C, and we see that a C is a third above an A. So there we have it. So we know that this is a D7 chord. Ta-da! So on my sheet here, I'm going to write D7 above that chord. Okay? Pretty cool. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning because what we're also going to do is write in the Roman numerals that correspond to the scale degrees of the root of the chord. So we start out with a G chord, and that's a major chord. So we put a Roman numeral 1, see? Okay. And it stays 1 for the whole first complete measure. And then when we get to the second complete measure, there's a D in the bass. And see how we wrote a different symbol? So eventually we're going to be writing the superscript numbers for first and second inversions, but as I told you, we're going to do that go over those on Wednesday, so you don't have to do those yet. Then the next chord is a 5, and we know that it's a 7, so we're going to put the little superscript 7. Okay, so far so good. Now, I'm going to do one more chord for you. We've had all these, it's been a G major harmony going all the time, then a D7 on that third beat of the second complete measure, right? And now we have E, G, and B with a G on top. So the three different notes are E, G, and B, and those bottom notes there are already in closed position. If we were looking at just the three, that makes an E minor triad. So above the staff, I'm writing E minor, and below the staff, I'm thinking, well, E is what? G, A, B, C, D, E. Sixth note in G major, so that's a 6th chord, and it's a minor chord, because we already noticed that. So now we write a lowercase 6. Okay, so that's what you're going to do in this. Might sound complicated at first, and maybe it is a little bit complicated at first, but you'll get used to it. So go through, figure out what the root of each chord is, write that above the staff using the pop chord symbols. If it's not in first inversion, use a slash chord. If it's a 7th chord, put the little 7. And then, after you've done that, identify what scale degree that root is in G major and write the Roman numeral for that underneath. That's what we call, this is the beginning of what we call the functional analysis. We're seeing first what the actual chord is, and then we're looking at how they relate to each other in the context of a key. And then if it's a major chord, you use a uppercase Roman numeral. If it's a minor chord, lowercase. We've gone through this before. If it's a 7th chord, put the little 7. And then we'll talk about how to notate inversions on Wednesday. So I will see you then.